Okay, hello everyone. My name is Desmond Marshall. We still have people coming in, so they are late. Anyway, that's how it is. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Desmond Marshall. I'm the MD of Hooge International and Hooge Ventures. Everyone can hear me, right? It should be. Hold on a second. Okay, thank you all for coming. One of the topics right now these days, we're talking in terms of what the recession is, what's happening at this point around here. So let me just share with you some of the information that we have first. Let's start anyway. Cool. So the topic today we're talking here is mainly in terms of VC strategy is. Everyone's talking about a global recession. Everyone's talking the market is going to shit right now these days. And whatever some of the media is saying, whatever some of the haters or whatever people trying to paint a rosy picture, the fact pretty much remains that we are actually heading very close to something what we call a stagflation. Now, this is something that's quite serious and hasn't happened for quite some time already, mainly because we had something called COVID these days. So one of the things that I normally do is in terms of even before COVID is trying to save companies. So people call me a corporate doctor or a consultant, or what we call normally is a white knight. Which means that when it's pretty much on a desperate situation, people call us in and then we try to save the company in whatever ways possible. So one of the things that we try to talk about these days, I'll kind of share some of these strategies that I've done with the, before to show case to you, because in one of the cases right now today, let's just check on to the next slide, is pretty much in terms of how some of the investments is not going into a pretty rosy picture. So basically, it's pretty much like in VC investments, all the investments in some of the startups or some of the innovation companies, whether it's Series A or Series B, they're not working anymore. So whatever or whoever comes up to me and say, hey, we're doing great around here, I would pretty much consider that as bullshit coming along here. So of course, people hustle, people will pretend that they're not supposed to be something that they're not supposed to be, which is fine, because that's how we all hustle in today's world, just to make sure that all the bells and whistles, smoke and mirrors are there in order to achieve our objectives. So that's how it is, that's fine. But in terms of how the VC works on these kind of strategies is it's very different than what a normal CEO or what a normal marketing or business person will do in a company. So we do have a lot more choices in terms of how we save a company, and sometimes it's pretty dramatic as well. So one of the things that I want to set today is, now I'm assuming because the whole point of this this webinar around here, or this meeting today, is pretty much targeted at VCs, so investors. So I would assume that most of you are VCs. If not, that's fine as well, because we welcome pretty much everyone. So whether you're a business owner or founder, that's fine as well. But the strategies or the kind of things that I'm talking about today will be meant for on an investor level. So we're talking about like the chairman of a committee, the committee board members, the investors, whether you're major or minority role in an investment company. Of course, if you are in minority role, then there will be certain strategies that you cannot actually do so because of the actual power, the real power that you have itself. But of course, if you are a founder, then of course, certain things will not sound right to your ears, because what we're doing right now is something that's at the last line around here. It's about saving a company fast and furious, because it's a recession. So we have to assume that there's a recession or stagflation coming, if not already. So the founders can listen to this, can benefit from this as well, because they will get a mindset in terms of, okay, how someone like me as an investor, VC, may send someone like me to come in and kind of like shake up the company, and also just to make sure that the company is actually working to its full function, or we want to achieve certain things coming along here. And sometimes the achievements or the objective maybe is to kill the company in a nicer way. So surviving or saving the company may not be as important sometimes as to killing a company. So of course, there are different things coming along. There will be different strategies. So it's a little bit different from each company to other companies as well. So like I said, this is also about the whole expectation I want you to have today is this is not about list go companies. So it's not about, hey, I'm listed in NASDAQ or whatever in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Can these apply to me? No, definitely not. It's a different ball game. It's totally different. You got different auditings and stuff like that. So there are certain things you can't do. There are certain things you can do. And there's a lot of things that we need to be aware of as well. So of course, like what I'm saying is in certain strategies that I'm going to showcase today, or I'm telling you today, they are definitely not politically correct. So whatever you're seeing outside or hearing outside, oh, we need to be good to certain people, or we need to be ethical or whatever, that really doesn't work on me. Okay, that doesn't really work on, hey, if we're trying to save a company, then let's set things aside. Money is not emotional. So we have to be very careful in terms of, okay, well, how much emotion you put into a certain company. And that's the reason why I'm saying it's not supposed to be for founders. Founders have a lot of emotional or emotional kind of a token attached to the company. So it's kind of very difficult in terms of having them in a more objective, or what we say in a more ruthless and cold way of doing things. And of course, some of the methods that I'm trying to tell you to these, I'm not telling you to like break the law, but then again, breaking the law or doing things in a gray area or in a dark method is one of the options that you should be thinking about as well, depending on how the stakes are. Of course, that's really up to you. That's not up to me. But then again, that's always an option in a way that it is. And like I said, it may go against what you have actually heard from other experts or whatever, because I'm a more practical person. And what I do right now is in terms of how we save the company. So saving a company, it's either you change it or you don't change it. That's pretty much my stance around here. So if you're keen on changing it, then, well, let's get to it. If not, then let's not even talk about this. So like I said, I'm sure all of you are clever people. So I'm sure most of you are investors as well. So this is just a reference, not a rule, not a silver bullet, because I don't like people or the CEOs or the founders coming to me, oh, my company is not doing well, let's start a website, then everything's got to be rosy, we're going to make a lot of money. No, don't be naive, don't be stupid, okay? So it's about, like I said, it's about saving a company fast and furious. It's pretty much that simple. Now, for we will have some, I will be using probably around 30 minutes of this coming along here. I won't take a lot of time because I'm a fast and furious person. Just get things moving along here. And I'll open up to probably around 15 minutes or so in terms of Q&A. So if you have any specific Q&As, just make sure that it's quite consistent, quite concise, and also very specific. And on your right-hand side, you will have the meeting chat. You can post your questions to me directly, not to everyone. So I can just later on after the whole presentation, I will be able to pick some of the questions out and then answer you guys one-on-one, one by one. Okay. Okay, let's go directly into this. There's more people coming in. Yeah, if you're late, then that's it. Okay. A bit of self-aggrandizing around here. Yeah, a little bit about me. If for those who don't know about me and my company, I'm the MD of Hooge International and Hooge Ventures. We do venture capital. We do invest in, well, we're pretty much one of the first people to invest in terms of blockchain and stuff like that. But of course, even before the buzzword like startups or entrepreneurship and all that stuff, innovation and all that stuff, we've been doing the VC stuff for quite some time already. So we're considered to be old school. But then again, of course, we're now a new school as well. Doing new things in terms of innovation, sustainability. We're pretty much also the very first people to actually just learn and focus on in terms of sustainability as well. So if you're interested, go to my website, the company website, rougevc.com, rougevc.com around here. My own personal website is desmondmarshall.com, full name around here. You can see some of the information in terms of the companies that we've covered before. We do cover or help a lot of different companies in different projects in China, in other places of the world, how you penetrate a new market as well. So I won't go into details, but in terms of Hooge Ventures and Hooge International, what we do is pretty much two big major categories. One is the business on your upper right-hand side around here. You can see our services. So one of the things that we do is business turnaround advisory, exactly what we're talking about these days. So basically saving companies specifically for VC investment portfolios. Okay, so of course there will be companies, but business companies coming in and say, hey, my business is not working. How can we do so? We do that as well. But of course, on a different level, we work with different VCs and say, okay, this is a VC level, then we're thinking about from a chairman's point of view, from a committee board point of view. So strategies will be very different. On another category that we do is everything about due diligence. So doing private investigation. So that's the upper right-hand side, the two areas. You can see human due diligence and AI due diligence. So we have two subcategories of this. So the due diligence being done by human beings. So you can consider those to be like human private investigators that we have. So for example, an investor and say, hey, I want to go check on a restaurant in Vietnam, but I'm in New York right now. So as a normal investor, you won't be traveling, you won't be spending a lot of money and time and effort just to go to a restaurant in Vietnam to check how these guys are doing. So what you do is actually we do have operatives in different parts of the world to do micro tasks, and then you just issue out an order out, and then we have like operatives pick it up and say, hey, I want to check upon this restaurant during lunchtime to see how many people are actually eating. This is due diligence. This is the best way of doing due diligence, and that's how we do things as well. So you get the operative to actually go to a restaurant and then do it, take photos, and then get some proof of it, and then sending the information back to you. And if it's okay, then you just pay the operative, and that's pretty much it, just like a Uber kind of thing. So on the other hand, we also have something called the AI due diligence. So that's pretty much online and using technology. Specifically, we're one of the very first people or first companies to do ESG investing in terms of due diligence. We have one of the biggest databases in the world in terms of sustainability innovations called Future Engine. So we'll have that. That's under the scope of sustainthefuture.net. But you'll get everything you can go to rougevc.com to actually see all the information. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. If you're interested, add me on later on in terms of LinkedIn, and then add our company on, and you'll get more information from that. And also some of the case studies that you have, we have in terms of some of the turnaround case studies. Some of them we can't say because it's a little bit more secret, but then again, I'll share with you later on in a minute. Okay, let's get to the first thing. Like I said, it's very controversial to what we do. Like I said, if someone comes in, if a VC comes in and says, hey, Desmond, my company is not working at all, my investment portfolio is not working, how can we save this company? And in many cases, the kind of request that comes in will normally be pretty late, because in pretty much all of the cases, the investors, the chairman, the boards, they will start doing it themselves. They're trying to save the company themselves, introducing other people, introducing so-called experts coming in. But the fact is, these so-called experts, or the kind of work that they're trying to do, normally is about how to save by using like organic growth kind of a format, and say, okay, the business is not working, let's think about how to grow back the business. Now, the fact is, in many cases, it doesn't work like that, okay? So, and especially when you're in a recession, when you're in a pretty bad market, having organic growth is pretty much down to impossible or to very improbable. So one of the key things in terms of when I get the order coming in, I have to do things, like I said, fast and furious. So one of the key things that I do, and most people don't like it, is I need to get rid of humans. So by humans, I'm talking about, number one, staff, people who are just mucking around, fucking things up around here. It can be a staff. It also can be investors as well. So the people who hire me or asking me to do things, even the chairman, even the investors, the committee board members or whatever, they can be the ones who mucking things up around. So if I'm coming in with an objective of saving a company, I need to take those into consideration as well. So and it's pretty easy when people are saying and say, oh no, outside in normal, all the Warren Buffets, all the Bill Gates are saying humans are the staff is the most important thing. Well, they're successful, okay? They can say shit and everything's rosy as well. So the thing is, you're not Bill Gates, so you don't have to go PR to use a PR stance on me. We need to think about certain things. We need to be very proactive in terms of human beings are the cause of many things around here. Your company will be doing good if you got good people. So chances are 100% chances that certain people are actually mucking things up around. They're not achieving objectives. They may be someone else's nieces or nephews or whatever. They may be someone who's been introduced by an investor who's mucking things up around and coming in for 2 weeks and pretending to be, hey, I'm an expert. I can change things for 2 weeks and then leave and then get a bunch of money from the company, because that's what investors do, sending people in to, hey, I've invested money into this company and I'm not getting anything out from it. So why don't I send in someone and then take salary out for this person, and that's something I can take back. So this is another tactic that many investors try to do so. But in any case, there are cases where, hey, I know this company is not working, so the chairman or the board members say, hey, I know someone who knows another person, coming in and say, okay, I want to introduce you to this person who can work with you. But in many cases, that's normally the downfall, because the founder or the CEO is just a staff, okay? Or just a minority shareholder, like a founder, and say, okay, I don't want to piss off the investors or the chairman or the board. I have to talk to this person. I have to curry favor with this person, make sure that, hey, you just have to assume that this is a spy anyway. So you can't really say no. But that person is taking a lot of money, getting a lot of salary by not doing anything and mucking things up even worse. My concept of this is very simple. A photocopier, we all know what a photocopier is, okay? A printer or whatever, or a telephone. A photocopier will not sue you, okay? But a disgruntled employee, they may feel that they're entitled. They may gang up, they may rally up with other employees, and then they will go to the government, they will go to the press and media, they will sue you. So the same thing goes for suppliers as well. So outside suppliers as well, other people as well. So if you are if your company is in is going into big trouble, the first thing you should be doing or thinking about is to get rid of humans, as many as possible. Now, I'm not talking about like getting rid of everyone. Of course, you need certain people to do things or not. You can say someone saying, hey, stay or let them go. Well, I would say normally you should try to let them go as many as possible, unless they are strategically beneficial to the company. So say, for example, this person is a salesperson who's gathering a lot of sales coming in. But of course, your company is not working at all. So which means that sales is not working at all as well. So you have to be very strategic in terms of that, which I will talk about it in later on. And like I said, each company is a little bit different. Each company is a little bit different in terms of what exactly is your is the situation. There may be people who are inside who have been planted by the investors or the chairman. So these things can happen as well. But of course, if I'm an outsider coming in, especially me coming in, it's a little bit different. And you can assign people like me to come in and just try to chop things up as you go along. So the question is, in terms of the efficiency, how you can do so. I will share a little bit more tips and tricks in terms of how we can do so in terms of efficiency. Of course, people are talking about like quiet firing, quiet quitting, and all these new terms around here. Is basically just getting rid of lazy employees. Okay, so different ways of doing so. You can do so legally. You should think about this in a legal matter. Of course, you will have to balance out in terms of the kind of money that you have, because your cash is low. Should you just have $100 around here, you got your supplies breathing down your neck, you got your employees breathing down your neck, what should you be doing? Now, I'll talk about that in a matter of seconds, minute later on in the next slides. But then again, as a rule of thumb, there are a lot of different automations coming along here. So you need to really quickly think about certain things can be outsourced, certain things can be used with different automation, like on the web, SaaS models and stuff like that. Of course, you can't build something up from scratch overnight. Well, you can actually, it depends on how complicated things are. But the rule of thumb I'm trying to say is get rid of humans as many as you can. You can hire them later on when things get better, but then again, you need as less people as possible, because that person may be friendly today, by tomorrow that person can be really nasty and then fuck up the entire company because they're inside. They can sabotage you a lot of things. So it really depends on how each company is. The next part I want to talk about is in terms of timing. So people say, okay, how it is, and when they come over to me, there are certain things that I normally look for will be, hey, how much time do I have in terms of saving this company? How much money am I going to get as well in terms of saving this company? Because you need to use money to save a company. So you can't just say, hey, get zero money. But of course, if you're just comparing case by case, apples to apples, then if I had to choose, I would choose time first. Because if your company is closing down tomorrow, it's going to be very hard unless you have a lot of money, because I don't have time to actually do a lot of things. So the thing is, in terms of the timing, it's very important. And also the survival timing, you have to think about in terms of how you squeeze out survival time as well. But what do I mean by squeezing survival time? For example, there are many cases where there are employees coming down and say, hey, you haven't paid me for 6 months or 3 months already. Hurry up. When am I getting my salary? Suppliers are doing that as well, just saying, hey, you still owe me money around here. What should I be doing? And when can I get my money back? These are the things that every day there will be. If you're in a shitty situation, especially in some of the companies, people smell shit. So which means that your suppliers will talk to other suppliers and other suppliers will come in as well. So you will have more and more shit piling up on your desk. And if you procrastinate and if you just let go of everything, and just say, hey, I don't want to solve this today, and then just say, let's do it when it comes to when it becomes urgent. Well, then again, it's going to be very difficult. It's just like a disease. When you have cancer, when the cancer is small, it's easy to treat, but if it grows, then it's going to be much more difficult. And you see that in many cases where everyone's just passing the ball and passing the buck around here and say, hey, this is not my thing, let's not face it. The investor or chairman say, I'm too old, I need to go golfing, I don't have time for it. And so things will start brewing it up. So one of the things that I can think about, or when I go into, is try to squeeze out as much time as possible. Now, people will be asking, okay, what can you do when the employees come in and say, hey, I don't have the money around here? For example, what I did before was that, hey, if you keep on paying the employees, they might not feel that agitated. So you don't have to pay them in one go. So employees are simple. Human beings are simple as well. So like I said, you get rid of most of the people. So you got some of the skeleton people, the crew around here. So you can just tell people and say, hey, just outgoing and be more proactive on this, instead of waiting the staff to come confront you, because that's pretty much the worst thing you can do. So you should be more proactive, because that psychologically sounds much more better, and the people will feel much more better. Humans are very emotional things. So if you make them feel that, hey, I love you, you are very important, then they will feel that, oh, okay, I'm going to give you a little bit more chance. Okay, just like your girlfriend or boyfriend. Okay, so if you do that, then it's much more better. So one of the things that I've done before in some of the saving companies will be, hey, I talk to employees up front and say, hey, the company is not doing well. They know it already, so everyone knows it. So right now you can sue me, and the company goes into liquid, but you won't get any money back, because it's going to go into a litigation process, and you won't be the first one to be as debtors getting the money out. So you will go through a long process, a litigation process, and then you'll not get the money out. But instead, I'm going to give you another option. I will partially give you bits and pieces of your partial salary out to you. So you've been delaying the payments already, but say, for example, an employee gets paid $100 per month, and you've delayed for like 3 months already. So you owe them $300. So what I will be doing and say, okay, for this month around here, I will pay you $50 every 2 weeks. So they still get on certain things coming along here. They still feel that, okay, the company is moving along. It's a little bit of cash flow problems around here. And the most important thing is that if they do try to sue, they won't get anything. So right now, you're just delaying the pressure, giving you more time to breathe, but you're using less money. So this is one tactic in terms of the psychological approach of, okay, if you're in a jam, but you still have to pay certain things. It's the same thing for suppliers as well. You can tell the supplier and say, hey, you can sue me. I'm not going to have a lot of money around here, but I'm going to pay you bit by bit, partial payments, delaying the payments. I still owe you, well, in reality, I still owe you $300, but then again, I'm just paying you bit by bit, and to let you feel that this is something that's moving along. And the most important thing is that if you have like 10 employees around here, probably 9 employees will be saying, okay, please don't stir up the pot. And for that 1 or 2 person to say, hey, I don't care, I'm just emotional, I just want to fuck things around here, let's go into litigation, you got 8 or 9 more people to back you up. So this is at least you have some allies within your company. So this is one of the a tactic or a way of things of how you can do so. So how you apply that, that's pretty much something that it takes a little bit more creativity, of course, on that. Third thing is definitely in terms of keeping all the money. Like I said, in terms of getting some room around here, of course, you need to spend a little bit more money, but at least you're not spending, like, say, for example, in my previous example, you're not spending like $300 in one go. You're spending $50, moving a little bit slower than before, but at least this is something that people will accept, and then people will have a fear. Remember the psychological approach on all these things. I work on these things in terms of not just on the business, but also on a psychological approach. People are selfish. So in a way, if they're getting some good benefits coming out of it, they won't want to stir the pot. But if there are certain people who's trying to stir the pot, and if it goes against my benefits and say, hey, I'm getting $50, at least $100 or $50 per month around here. So if you're trying to fuck up the company and go litigation or whatever, don't fuck it up. So people will be ganging up instead on the other person, or the other person will find it difficult to find allies within the company too. And you can find different ways of handling that outstanding employee, disgruntled employee. So one of the things, and like I said, in some of the cases, ignore the debts, ignore the payments, and tell people or tell the suppliers, hey, I'm going to give you something, give them something instead of telling them that you're giving them something, as an act of goodwill. So it doesn't have to be a lot of money, because you don't have a lot of money anyway. So, and of course, you have to be strategic about this as well. Some of the smaller companies, it's too small, the amount is too small, and which means that them suing you is an unlikely option. They still want that money, but of course, for smaller amounts around here, some of the suppliers will say, okay, fuck it, I'm not wasting another time on this company. So you get people or the suppliers who will just phase out themselves normally, gradually, and then you have more breathing room to do so. And like I said, negotiate like a boss, like a mob boss, and just tell them and say, hey, you have two options around here. You fuck it up, then everyone fucks up. So I'm going to give you an option. So it's what we call the carrot and stick option. So I'm going to give you the carrot. So this is something that you can eat and be happy at for a short period of time, or we will all go into litigation in terms of the legal process, and none of you will get anything. So that's pretty much in a way to make sure that, because a lot of people are very psychological, emotional at that point, so you have to hammer it really very strictly into their minds and say, okay, you can do so. But then again, you will not be the most popular person, because you will go into legal process, liquidation, and you will definitely not be the first debtors to get the money, because the stockholders, the stockholders, the shareholders, the board will be getting the money back if there is any money left. And you'll be paying for legal fees and everything, and then everyone else who's getting a little bit more money, they won't have any more money coming going along. So you'll be the point, you'll be everyone's enemy, and it's not something that they will want as well. Another important thing that many people come over to me when they're in distress is to say, I want to save the company, but I don't know what's going to be the outcome. So it's like from a VC's point of view, the exit strategy. Now, from an exit, if you're investing in a company, one of the exit strategies is to, okay, let's go IPO, let's go listing, let's find new investors coming in. That's the rosy part of the picture. So what's the exit strategy for something that's going to shit? That is something that's not getting anything close. So some of the exit strategies will be, okay, totally shutting it down. You can go into liquidation. Let's just cancel everything and just move on, because I don't have the time. I don't have the money to actually just save the company. There is nothing around here. The police is coming, or the government, or the courtroom is actually coming down and shutting everything down. By tomorrow, then there's really nothing you can do. Or you can turn it into a zombie mode. What I call a zombie mode is mainly the company's dead, practically, but we repackage it in a way that it looks alive. And once it looks alive, we can then be able to package it in a way and, say, for example, sell it to a new investor, get new investments coming in, get new money coming in, and to make sure and put some flesh onto it so that it becomes a little bit more better coming along here. Or there, in many cases, some of the chairmen, the founders, they don't want to write off. They don't still want to sort of like save it and turn it into the next Alibaba or turn it into the next Apple company, which normally does not happen at all. So they're looking into organic growth. Now, like I said, we're talking about in a recession, we're talking about in bad economic times. And even for good economic times, this is very difficult as well because, hey, your company's in shit already. So how do you actually just turn everything around in a short period of time for organic growth? And one of the key things is in many cases, most of these businesses, they don't realize it until the very end. So let me give you an example, a real life example that I've done before. So that's a company called Check Point. It's a listed company in US that do security gates. So they have a division called the library division and selling security gates to the libraries. And as we all know, no one goes to the libraries. The librarians are dinosaurs. They don't know how to do business. So less people going to read books, less people going to libraries. Libraries don't get funding, they get closed down. It's that pretty simple, which means that suppliers get closed down as well. So one of the things that we originally started to do was that some of the experts thought about, okay, let's re-strategize it in a way, let's try for organic growth. We did at that point of time, had something new, but it's a little bit difficult because of all the dinosaurs, the suppliers, the clients, they are all dinosaurs. They're not willing to spend any money. So organic growth is pretty much it's very improbable. Well, nothing is impossible, but hey, very improbable, like 99.99% improbable to turn around. So one of the things that we done was we knew about this early on and say organic growth is not going to work. We have to sell it. So, but by selling it, one of the things that we try to do was we need to find someone big enough to sell it. So we were number 2 at that point. Number 1 company was 3M, the famous 3M. So one of the things that we done in terms of strategically was that we asked the clients to seed the information to 3M, just to tell them, hey, Check Point is doing something new, something different, something aggressive. So 3M was the sleeping dragon at that time because this industry is pretty much dead or stagnant. So no one's doing anything. So suddenly the clients are actually telling 3M, the leader at that point, hey, there's a new, the guy, the second in command or in the market is doing something new. So it got their attention, it got their interest, and we package it in a way that it got the investors' attention as well. So eventually, after a period of time, we sold the entire division over to 3M. So, and 3M bought the division, pretended it and say, hey, we're going to sell it or whatever. And they eventually killed the company, killed that division for that end. So in a way, if this is a CEO, if this is an employee or marketing person, they will not think about these strategies around here. These are the kind of strategies that only investors or only VCs or the chairman will be thinking about. But then again, if we do not think about this clearly early on, then it's very difficult for people like us to go in and say, okay, what do you actually want to do? If you want to change something, then we have to plan for it. But then again, are we going to do for organic growth, or we want to just package it and just to make sure that we can just con or hustle people for the next round of investments? And like I said, in many cases, organic growth, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Let's not even do about organic growth. So when normally I go in, it's more or less in terms of, okay, let's repackage it in a way. So turn it into zombie mode, repackage it, rebrand it, start a new division, start a new company name, or do something different. There are different things in terms of how things are moving along, in terms of the shareholders, in terms of the companies that holding the shares as well. But of course, each company is very different as well. And in many cases, that's the reason why we don't talk to the founders. The founders are very emotionally attached to these things. So it's it always like 200%, they will cloud their judgment in terms of, okay, I'm trying to kill your baby, so approve it or just go along with it. And they'll always say, no, this is the best thing in the world. This is the only thing that can go to Mars. Okay, no, it doesn't, because no one wants it in the first place. Why even save it? Because you're in a deep spot already. So let's not even waste time on thinking about how to revive your company. And with your brand name, because no one wants it. If you had good clients around here, you'll still be having good clients and not thinking about the exit strategy. One of the things in terms of how we repackage it, of course, it's very different. If you are a F&B, a restaurant, you repackage it in a very different way than a web commerce, e-commerce company. So I can't say anything at this point around here because I'm giving you a general rule here. So it's pretty much very specific in terms of what kind of resources that you have that you can do very closely. One of the things that we do is definitely in terms of adding market buzzwords, because if we were going to repackage it, then which means that we're trying to turn in a zombie mode to hustle for the next round of money, sell it back to the investors or get new money coming in. So we have to repackage it to wrap it in and tell people, hey, this is a nice candy, try it out. And the packaging or the wrappings around here normally should be suited to what the market is talking about, the buzzwords that the market is talking about. So words like sustainability and innovation, those are pretty much the two most important things, what we're doing or what most people are doing right now. So of course, under these big categories around here, there's different things like ESG, big data, eco-friendly, et cetera, et cetera. You do it, okay? You just do your own creativity in adding these things. But the most important part is if you're adding these names or buzzwords into a new process of the company, you're starting a new division, or you're starting a new business line, revenue line stream around here, you have to think about, hey, can I actually apply it in my own company? Because if we're doing smokes and mirrors and bells and whistles, at the very least, you need to have a frame in terms of process. So when the investor comes in for due diligence, at least give them something to look at in terms of, hey, you're just talking, hey, there's nothing you can actually see. So make sure you no matter how small it is, you do have a business line going along with it. And in many cases, when I'm talking to like the founders or to investors or to the chairmen, one of the key things that we need to think about will be, hey, if you're willing to change, we have to do away with the old methods. So my principles are pretty simple in terms of old ways, old results, new ways, new results. It's pretty much that simple. But the thing is, in most cases, and in like 99% of the cases, the investors or the chairman will say, oh, we've done that before, or we want to follow some of the old processes around here, or some of the old revenues, what can we do? So I will pretty much say, hey, if you tried it before, I'm sure before you called me, then you've tried it many times as well. So if you're calling me for drastic actions, we need for drastic measures. So if you're not willing to change, then it's very difficult to actually turn a dead company into a zombie mode, because you won't believe it. And if you don't believe it as a group, you can't sell it to the next investor. One of the things that I normally tell will be, we need to hustle. So by hustling, we mean that we need to find new money. So kicking out the employees, kicking out the human part of the things will certainly save a lot of money, save certain money, suppliers, or the kind of things that you have to pay, example, rent and stuff like that. That's for savings. The other part will be acquiring new money. So what can you do in terms of when you don't have organic growth, you don't have enough time to get clients coming in for your new business or your new pretend business for it. The good thing when we're comparing today's businesses compared to like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, is that my time at the very beginning, we never had like pitching events. So the government, there are no subsidies, there's no like science parks, there's no like accelerators, all these things. These are new words, okay, for the past 10 years or 15 years. And these companies or these entities around here, they're just throwing money out because they want to pretend that, oh, we're supporting new innovative companies, blah, 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 and all that stuff. So we're throwing a lot of like pitching events, investors trying to pretend to be investors. They're just throwing money out, giving 10,000 here, 100,000 there. So you see, you gather all that information, and it's pretty easy to find free money. And you'll see professional hustling startups, they only do like pitching events, and that's pretty much what they do in a way. So they don't really do business. So they have the CEOs, so-called CEOs, or the people, the whole team coming in, and then just keep on doing pitching events just for show and tell, for PR exposure, and also for actual money. Some of them do actual money, so no strings attached. Yeah, of course, some of the governments will put some strings to it, and say, hey, you have to prove that you're selling a company here or whatever. But then again, because the market is so competitive right now, these entities, accelerators, incubators, even like co-working spaces, they're just throwing money out, no matter how small. So you decide on how it is. So these are actually good sources of free money, no strings attached, and you don't even have to do business. The good thing is they don't even conduct any due diligence as well. So you just go in and just say all the buzzwords, sustainability, innovation, and all that stuff. We're a company that has blah, blah, blah. We're doing things already for a certain amount of time around here. So you just create all these bells and whistles in order to get the attention of the judges, and then hopefully you'll get some free money coming out of their pockets. Now, that's how WeWork did. And of course, that's one of the biggest scams of it. But then again, who doesn't these days? So it will buy you some time. Of course, if you're doing a bigger scam, then of course, you'll get more time, but then again, your risk will be much more higher. So I'm not telling you to be illegal, but I'm just telling you there are white methods, there are gray methods, and there are dark methods of doing things. And one of the key things that I normally tell and say in terms of I do a lot of startups as well. So in terms of some of the startups, how I teach them in terms of hustling for the money will be like, it's not that difficult actually, because if you're entering into a competition, you know who your competitors are in a pitching event. So you can sabotage them. You can go to your other competitors or other entries and entrants, your competitors. Just take a look at their company, take a few photos, empty photos of their restaurants or their shops or whatever. And you know the judges as well. So you get someone to send this information over to judges before the judging event. So you actually seeding psychologically into the minds of the judges that the other companies are shit. So when they're judging or when they're looking into how it is during the actual pitching event, they might ask the company, but then again, anything that says coming out from another startup, well, we don't really believe it anyway. So it just shows that this is one of the psychological tactics that you can do dirty business. But of course, it really depends on if you want to do this dirty business, but you have to be aware that other people will do this to you as well if they're hustling for the money. Well, of course, there are many cases, like I said, when the chairman or the investor or the committee board members, they normally like to get in their own people first. And so one of the key things that I've seen is to mess things up, because number one, they don't know the business, they don't know the industry, they don't know how to save a company fast and furious in a fast and furious method. So in many of the cases, they already have people coming in, mucking around for 2 weeks and then making even more shit in the company. So if the chairman or if as an investor, if you're really into like saving the company, saving the kind of investments that you have already, then you need to have someone like me coming in as a cutthroat expert. So we come in, we don't really give shit. So, of course, we have to understand what you want to achieve first. And if you're paying me, then of course I need to think about what you're doing first, but I'll give it to you straight. And we give it to the entire company fast and furiously in a cutthroat fashion. So we're what we call in the markets fixers. So you're not asking for another CEO who's an employee who's just trying to save his skin, because as a fixer, we come in, fix the things, and we go out. So we don't have pretty much a lot of skin in the game in a way, like a CEO, because hey, if I fix the company or whatever, then or if I sell the company, then I won't have a job. So they have their own like personal hidden agendas as well. So you can, as a chair or member of the board, you sometimes they cannot expose their roles around here, so they hire people like me coming along here. But the thing, like I said, you have to do it early and not something that it's too late for before it's too late. So I'm wrapping this up a little bit. I know these are the things. It's in a way it can be generic, but then again, I don't know each and every one of you in terms of how the company's share structure is. Of course, there are other situations where, as an investor or from a VC point of view, we have to handle different other shitty things as well. Some of the shitty things can be funny as well. So it's some things like getting rid of board members. How do you get rid of people who are just unwilling to sell their shares and say, hey, let's fix the company in a certain way? And in certain stories that we have, we actually beat up some of the board members as well, physically. So I'm not telling you to follow my methods, but then again, these are kind of the things that depends on how drastic things are, it can really get out of hand. So depends on your stake, how much is at stake around here. Of course, if you're saying, hey, it's just $1,000, so let's forget it. But if we're talking about like millions of dollars or even more, then if someone is blocking the way, then we have to find new creative methods, even dark methods, to handle the situation as well. Another thing will be retaining absolute control. There are cases where employees, like in the finance, the CFOs or the CEOs, they retain certain absolute control. So if you've done business in China, you'll understand the importance of company chops, because that's the most important thing when you're dealing with the government documentations, when you're dealing with the trade departments, the banks and everything. So if a CEO or if a CFO or if anyone gets into contact with the chops around here and retains it, then he or she will have absolute control. And of course, there are online banking and stuff like that. People can just pass on the money to someone else beforehand and then get away with it. You can call the police, of course, but then again, it's just one case, and the police will not probably will take into matters into situation, and you can say, hey, I'm going to get a lawyer. Okay, how much is going to be a lawyer? So you have to balance out in terms of the cost efficiency in terms of getting these things moving along here. So and in reverse, in vice versa, you can also think about, okay, if I'm going to do this, how much effort will the other parties go through if they're trying to sue me? So like I said, using the case in terms of employees that we've done before, in terms of, hey, I'm buying a breathing space between now and coming along here so that you won't sue me. But of course, if I'm paying you and you will have like less debts from me, then it doesn't make any sense for you to pay more for lawyer fees and everything coming along here. So it's really a little bit strategic in terms of, and fluid in terms of how you actually use that method moving along. But of course, retaining absolute control, that is something that you have to think about early on. And unfortunately, in many cases, like from an investor point of view, the VC's point of view, they're just putting the money in, they don't handle daily management. And that's pretty much the first thing, or the first mistake that most investors do, is that they put in the money, they don't sort of like handle, do the daily management, or to be involved in the daily management, which can be good or bad at the same time, depending on how good you are in terms of this industry. Now, of course, if you want to handle certain situation and say, hey, I don't have the money for stocks for employees, then you can always issue, or depending on how your share structure is, you can issue certain employee stocks or whatever, just to make certain people shut up. So it's something that you can use it even for your suppliers as well, depending on how much they see or value your company. And of course, but each shareholder structure is a little bit different. You can, going into the gray area, sort of like do certain things in terms of shareholder structure, in terms of issuing new shares, doing something funny in terms of the contracts, because as an employee, I pretty much guarantee no one's going to read everything from an employee stock contract. So you can have like a longer cutoff period, a longer time for the redemption period and stuff like that. And even for in certain cases, I'm seeing people doing it in terms of how you change certain terms and conditions, lines, the wordings in a contract, and the employee doesn't think, okay, let's just sign it, and it voids the actual contract itself when it comes to, hey, under a legal eye. So these are more or less in a more gray area kind of things that we can also consider. And of course, from another point of view, you have to read everything clearly and understand clearly before you sign anything. So in the final words, in terms of some of the summary, is when we're trying to save a company around here, we have to think like a gangster. So you go to a gang fighting, a mob fighting with pen and paper, okay? You have to use a machete, you have to use a large knife, even guns or machine guns. You need someone who's cutthroat, who can actually just handle these situations very clearly and concisely, precisely as well. Money, like I said, money has no emotions, and you shouldn't be as well. So if the company is not working, then it's time for you to cut it off. So cutting the losses, not to think about, oh, because someone, my friend, is telling me there's still a chance, then let's try to save it as much as possible. That's normally the first downfall there is. And like I said, there are white methods, there are gray methods, and there are dark ways of doing things, depending on how drastic the situation is. But also it goes both ways, because the other parties can do exactly the same things to you as well. And like I said, everyone is an expert, especially these days. They go to TikTok and then they listen to all the 18-year-olds telling you how to invest, telling you how to manage a company. Well, if you want to listen to that, then that's your prerogative, not mine. But for us, who's serious about their money, who's serious about the investments and everything, then it's really years of experience, hands-on experience in terms of how we handle these situations in different locales, in different situations, handling a company in US, handling a company in Indonesia. The local people is very different from handling another company in China and different places as well. The employees may be thugs. Employees can be very polite as well, but they can be very nasty overnight as well. So it's really something that you have to really think about in terms of certain things. Well, hire people like me. Okay, if you're interested a little bit more, of course, if you haven't, then please add me on LinkedIn. The QR code is there. You can also email me if you're interested, or if you are really interested, or you have some situations in terms of what you're having as a fellow VC, as a fellow investor, because I can pretty much guarantee you're having a lot of trouble with some of many of the investment portfolios they have. But then again, how do we actually handle things from a shareholder's point of view, from an investor point of view? That is a totally different school of thought. So you've got to be very careful on that. And I'm willing to share some of my more stories. Just email me if you need help on this. Now, for those who are, well, for everyone actually, whether you're an investor, you're a VC, you have your own investment portfolio companies, or you are a business owner, a founder, we have something coming up. We're reactivating what we call the business turnaround clinics. So these are pretty much like private one-on-one online clinics for the companies. So it's like a doctor, okay? You see the doctor online. So you set a time with me or during the registration, then you give me a little bit of information beforehand, and I will set up a time with you to do a one-on-one in a very short time, in a very short period of time. I would try to solve some of the issues or give you some points and tips in terms of how you can actually go about in terms of pointing you in the right direction, or how you should be thinking in terms of saving your own company. So it's pretty much your own company on a one-on-one basis in terms of the clinics. And I'll fix it for you right on the spot if I can. But of course, I'm not going to be executing it. I'm going to give you some of the right directions in terms of how it is. But then again, it's a one-on-one for your company only. So that's it for this time. Let's go to some of the Q&As that I have. Okay. First question, let's see. Okay, was it more efficient to deal with the humans and make them stay or let them go? This is from, let's see. Who is this from? This is from Madhura Tolsiani. Okay, it's different. Like I said, my rule of thumb is pretty simple. The principle remains the same: as less humans as possible. So like I said, a photocopier won't sue you, okay? But people will. So whether they are employees or whether they are suppliers, or even whether they're investors as well on the board, well, get rid of them as many as you can, because you can always hire good people at a cheaper rate actually these days, and they would be much more loyal to you actually, because they haven't seen the shit in your company, how shitty it was. So if you're trying to retain people who think your company is shit, they will always think that it's going to get shittier. So my rule of thumb is, well, don't retain these people, just get rid of them. Okay, but in terms of how tactful it's going to be, or how rosy you're going to paint this picture and say, oh, I love you, but then it doesn't work for me. Okay, well, that's one way of saying it. Or just say, you shit, get the hell out. Okay, that's another way of doing things. So of course, you got to make sure that psychologically that other person will sue you back or have bad thoughts about you. Well, sometimes people have bad thoughts about me. I don't really care, because yeah, I'm firing them anyway. But then again, the thing is to ensure that they won't sue you back. That's pretty much the most important thing coming along here. So let them go, or, well, it depends on how it is, because if you're a restaurant, then you'll be thinking very differently than if you're a web e-commerce company, or if you are a agriculture company. But if they're willing to go themselves, then let them go. Okay, because if a neutral employee wants to go, let them go, because I'm sure that they have thought about this and they're leaving, at least from a neutral point of view, it's still in good terms. But if you start to retain them and say, I don't want to let you go, but you're not paying me, then it turns really bad. So I hope that answers your question. And the most efficient way of doing things is well, of course, you can have like a gray area, or or what we say the dark area these days is quiet firing or quiet hiring these days. I don't really know what it is. It's pretty much like getting rid of lazy employees, or the employees, or the lazy employees are trying to do as less as possible. But the rule of thumb is, of course, if you want to fire someone, then you have to make sure that legally, what you should be doing. If that person is just on board for a month, well, you can pretty much fire that person, and you don't really need to be too worried about him or her suing you back, because it's just probably 1 month less or compensation or whatever. Even the government won't take you seriously. So even if they go for a litigation or whatever, it's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time for the other person. So always think about the other person as well. Like I said, psychologically, I think about the other person. Think about how that person will say, okay, if that person is trying to sue me, how much effort will that going to be? So it's pretty much cost efficiency. Hey, it's just a half a week of pay, then, well, forget it. Anyway, I'm not going to get back. I'm not going to waste time and money. I find a new job. Another way of doing things, I've done that before, is for certain employees, you can, or for difficult employees, or for even good employees as well, you can actually find another job for them. So you're actually finding another job position outside of your company. Ask your friends, ask your other people, just try to sell that person off. Okay, so it's like, hey, this person, I don't like it, I don't want it anymore, but I've got another friend or another person who's hiring someone. Well, I'm just saying, hey, I've got this person around here who's probably willing to do so. He's a great employee around here. Just make it as rosy as possible. Okay, get rid of that person, and then you just tell the employee, okay, I don't have enough money around here, I have to let you go. But then again, I have this friend around here. You just send him your CV, and then he's probably going to hire you pretty much on the spot around here, and that will solve a lot of issues, because from an employee point of view, there are only two objectives. The employees will, number one, do as less work as possible. Number two, get their salaries. Okay, so as long as you ensure that these objectives are met, then the employees will be happy. So psychologically, if you, okay, I'm doing less work, hey, you found me a new company, a new work around here, so I can get more salary as well coming along, why not? So they probably will thank you later on as well. So, okay, well, missing 2 weeks of pay or 1 month of pay, okay, you'll pay me later on. You just give them some lip service and say, okay, I'm going to pay you once I have the money. Here's like $2 first, okay? And that's pretty much it. You get someone that will potentially be a bigger problem. So that's one of the things that I said, do not procrastinate, okay? Okay, will I share the recording? I will share the recording later on, so let's see how it goes. Okay, anyone with any more questions coming along here? Well, if not, then that's it for today. That's fine as well. If you have more questions, you can go to my LinkedIn, ask for mail. Okay, Olobi Isan, work everywhere in Africa, Nigeria, Ghana. Well, what I said is, of course, not everything works in different areas. Like I said, share structures are different, the legal situations are different. But what I'm telling you today is pretty much on a human being level. So it's more psychological in a way. It's more in a concept kind of way, where it applies to everywhere in the world. Whether you're in Mars, you're on the space station or whatever, as long as they're humans, they will have this kind of effect as well. So, of course, you might do a little bit differently in Ghana, in certain places in mid-Africa where you have like the military. So maybe there will be paramilitary people who you can hire, you can act as bodyguards and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different in different parts of the world. But then again, like I said, in the basic concept is pretty much there in terms of how you try to save a company as much as you can. And in those concepts, it's pretty much, it applies to a lot of places. So I hope that answers your questions for Lobby on this. Yes, LOL on this. Any more questions coming along? If not, then, well, like I said, add me on LinkedIn. Go to my LinkedIn page, ask me the questions, or send me the questions in my email as well. If you're interested in saving or just having some thoughts in terms of, I've got some business portfolio companies that are not doing well, can we actually do something about it? Then let's talk about it over email or direct conversation coming along here. And also for other people, watch out for the business turnaround clinics that we're going to have later on. It will give you a taste in terms of how fast and furious I can be, as long as you give me the correct information. But of course, I won't be executing for you. It's something that I'm just giving you the direction. But I'll be as candid as I can be, as you have heard today. Okay, so thanks a lot for everyone for coming today. And I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.